Hello and welcome to Sunrise Cardcast, your one-stop podcast shop for all things hockey cards. My name is Eric Andrews, also known in the hobby as Hammerhawks, and I'm joined by my co-host and fellow hobbyist Aaron Goldstein, better known as Crease Collector. So, as is often the case, we have a few recent additions we wanted to share before jumping into the main part of the episode. So, Aaron, do you want to start things off with your recent additions?
Absolutely, I do. And in part, it's a big credit to you on some of these new additions, especially these first two I'm about to share. For those who know, on the last podcast, these will come as no surprise, but Eric recently pulled not one, but two Dustin Wolf Young Guns, one being the new Silver Outburst parallel of, the Flames, like I would say their best prospect right now, Dustin Wolf. So, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the guy. I don't think I'm going to end up super collecting him to, 100% completion or anything like that, but definitely a collection I'm going to be slowly sort of chipping away at, for the next couple of years. So these, especially the new parallels there, the outbursts, really amazing in person. Like definitely a really cool way to start out a collection. So, and also for him to pull it in the same box is awesome. So big shout out to you, Eric, for these sweet cards. Just amazing.
Yeah, they are definitely nice. The Outburst Silvers are gorgeous in person. If you guys have not seen any of them in person yourself, and if you have a favorite player that's even in the base set or something, definitely make a point of grabbing one because they are stunning in person. So, yeah, definitely glad that those are in your collection.
Definitely. I mean, I actually, we'll talk about this in a moment, but the first time seeing one in person was at the expo because these came right after. So seeing the Outburst parallel for the first time, these things really draw you in. We were just talking a little bit before we went live here, and how the design of it is sort of, some of the lines on the card are shiny and then the other ones are sort of dulled. So it kind of has this sort of cool design, this sort of centering design highlighted by the player, and it just has a weird way of kind of drawing you in, if that makes sense. I was kind of a skeptic about new Young Guns parallels. Like I know there's the base set, but parallels affecting the Young Gun, because I think, in recent years they've tried so many different things and have had a few different parallels, and then adding a few more to that list just seemed just like not really the way to go. I think the Young Gun, maybe I'm just getting old, but just having the kind of classic version with the exclusive and high gloss was kind of enough for me. Seeing all these, recent additions in the past couple of years, I felt like they were doing too much with it. But I think these ones were a great call. Definitely I warmed up to these a lot. Seen some of the red versions as well, and the gold one, which is really cool. Whoever pulls the Bedard version in Series 2 is going to be one rich person. But yeah, like seeing these parallels in person were just awesome at the expo. And yeah, I'm really glad I one started the Wolf collection, and two was able to kind of jump on these new Young Gun parallel trains right out of the gate here. So again, big thanks to you, Eric.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know Billy was making the joke about us having the $50 bounty out for the Bedard Gold Outburst. I mean, if anyone happens to get it and wants to sell it to me for $50, I would be more than happy
We'll
to
take
take
that
you
all
up on
day for
that.
sure.
But yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I mean, could that be a six-figure card? It could be.
I honestly, I think so. With the way he's been pumped up, I think it'll be a six-figure card, 100%. It would probably surprise me if it's under six figures. I
Yeah,
think. I think
fair
if it doesn't
play.
hit it now, it'll hit it in the future for sure. Because
Hmm.
that guy is a stud, and it's going to be one of those, especially the Young Gun, the new gold Outburst parallel. I think it's going to be really cool. Put me down for six figures is my guess.
Nice. Yeah, I could definitely see that happening for sure. So that'll be cool to see. I mean, I'm sure I would like to think that we'll see it pulled, somewhat shortly after release with how much people are going to be opening it. But I guess you never know. We'll see.
We shall see. Another pickup that I actually stumbled upon, this one just came recently in the mail as well, is a card I've been looking for a very long time. It's from 0910, the Cup and Ross Rookie Year, and picked up this beauty quadruple patch card of some notable names here, at least at the time. Jonas Gustafsson, Antti Niemi, your favorite Eric, Jonas Enroth, of course, and Devin Dubnik. Yeah, one of five jersey number as well. So really cool patch card there. It was the final memorabilia card I needed from Enroth's rookie year, aside from the two one of ones that are hopefully kicking around out there somewhere. So this was a big card for me. I didn't really think I would ever land it. I think two had ended up in really hardcore Gustafsson collectors over the years that are keeping their collections. One is over in Finland in a Niemi collection. One is in a Dubnik collection. And yeah, the other one was in a really hardcore Blackhawks collectors collection. I knew where it was for a couple of years now, but they just would not let it go. And I was finally able to make a deal with this collector. So huge shout out to Brian on this sweet deal, finally letting it go into my collection. So again, it's a card that I thought I would never own, and thankfully it's in my collection now. So really, really cool addition there. It's not every day you knock off cards from over 10 years ago. So really nice to see that kind of come together.
Yeah, definitely a very big card for your collection. And I guess I didn't realize either that it was the last non one of one memorabilia card you needed from his rookie year. So that's really cool too.
Definitely. I mean, it's really cool. I don't think I'll ever. Well, we'll see. I mean, the other memorabilia cards from that era, the gold Cup RPA, which is out of the jersey number, which Roth is number one. So it's a one of one there. And the other one is the significant numbers autograph memorabilia set, which is again numbered to the player's jersey number, another one of one card. So hopefully I can get at least one of those one day. Yeah, really cool cards there, but we'll see. But yeah, like other than that, I have all the other memorabilia cards from that year. So pretty cool. It's been a long time coming.
Have you seen either of those or still yet to be
Nope.
seen?
Never seen a picture of it or nothing. So I'm sure they're around out there somewhere. I mean, I know back then there was a lot of people who, collected the RPA set. I'm sure if someone pulled it, then they just went from there. It wouldn't surprise me. There's a lot of, you know, RPA set collectors out there that aren't really sort of notable names in the hobby. They kind of lurk in the shadows a bit. So would not surprise me one bit. And as far as the significant numbers, I don't know really anyone who collects that set. I'm sure there are, but who knows? It could be just a lucky pull from someone and they decided to keep it. Who knows? So hopefully one of those, surfaces one day.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, still, this is a huge pickup and definitely a cool story, with you knowing where all five copies were and knowing about this one for quite some time. And that collector is somebody that I'm familiar with too. I remember going back even to like when I was in high school and stuff, going through that guy's photo bucket and seeing all the amazing Blackhawks cards that he had. I was definitely like, wow, like this guy's collection is so cool. So yeah, the fact that you're able to finally pry it out of his collection is really cool. And that was really exciting for sure. As far as my recent pickups, I'll start with one for my Jacob Slavin collection, and I will throw it up on the screen here so that you can see it, Aaron. I think you might already know about this one, but I'll share the story in a minute. But it is from 2020-21, the Cup, and it is one of the Cup Trios tags.
That is really nice. Two of two as well.
Yep, 2 out of 2. So
Nice.
what's kind of interesting too is this card had popped up on Facebook. Somebody had it, and they pretty much just had a price in mind that they wanted and they thought was fair and accurate. And they really were not close with that dollar figure. I can at least kind of understand the thought process, but if you really understand how these cards generally sell, you would know that what they were asking for was way too high. So I just reached out to them and said, hey, I could really use this card for my collection. And, I don't know if you have much flexibility on it, but, let me know if you do, because it's definitely something I'd be interested in. But I can't come close to that number because it just isn't worth that much. So, let me know. And they basically just totally freaked out on me, like just threw a tantrum saying that I was a low baller and this, that, and the other thing, and just yeah, totally freaked out. And yeah, it was not a very civilized conversation on their behalf. So yeah, I figured, okay, well, that's that. I'm never gonna see that card again. And yeah, maybe one day I'll see the other one and get it, but this one is pretty much good as gone. So, and then fast forward a few weeks, and this person decided to throw it up on eBay as an auction. So I was like, okay, well, probably going to get this card after all, and probably going to get it for a fair price. And I did. I ended up getting it for cheaper than I was willing to offer them in the first place. So kind of just funny how that worked out, but definitely glad to have it in my collection for sure.
That card is awesome. What bugs me though a little bit, it's not your fault. Just should cards out of two be a thing? Like out of three, like I can get on board with out of three. Like I think we've talked about this before, but I don't know. But cards out of three, that's fine. But cards out of two, like normally I don't care about parallels or the number of parallels. Like I know Leaf gets a lot of flack about the number of parallels. I really don't mind at all. Or with artifacts, like with Upper Deck and artifacts, no problem. But a parallel out of two, that bothers me for some reason. Just make it a one of one.
Yeah.
Like I know, yeah, it's rare and you might not ever see it, but you know what? I would take, like we just talked about it, like some one of one cards that I'm looking for. I am glad they're one of one. I would rather have them be out there and be a one of one, and maybe I'll never see them than a card that's two of two. I'm like, because the card itself is awesome. It's two of two for a reason. It's a nice rare card, but it deserves to be a one of one, you know, in my opinion. But that's just me. But either way, great card. Congrats on snagging them. And maybe one of these days you'll pick up the one of two. Who knows?
True, I have done that before actually. I know I think one of the can't remember if it's the trios. I think it's the Cup quads that Jalmerson was on. I think in it's either 1819 or 1920. I don't remember at this point because it's been so long since that product came out, whichever year it was. But yeah, I was able to track down both copies of the tag of that card. So it's kind of funny. And I have a lot of people don't really know this, but I have a strangely decent collection of Colin Delia, who's a minor league goalie, I believe, in the Jets organization at this point. But I have both of his, just the base Cup rookie red out of two. I have both of those as well. So kind of funny there. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying. It's like either make it a one of one or even bump it up to being out of three, either way. But yeah, two is always kind of a funny number for the reasons that you stated. So yeah, I totally hear where you're coming from on that. But yeah, I mean, being that rare, it's definitely really nice to find one. And I almost kind of treat them as one of ones just because it's like, there's only two of them, so you're probably only going to see one of them anyway. So it might as well be one of one in the
That's
first
true.
place.
No, that makes sense. I mean, like for me, it's always like as a player collector, you're looking at a new release and it's like, you know that, all right, there's going to be some competition on the one of one if I ever see it. But then there's this other random card in the middle, like, oh, a two of two, that's weird. And if you're a collector on a budget, it's like, okay, that's kind of, an extra expense I didn't see coming. Not that I want to complain about more cards. I mean, it's always awesome when, a player that you collect gets more cards, but it's just a weird one that we've seen the last few years. But anyway, maybe that's just me getting old. But normally, like I'm a fan of any and all parallels, even if it's a slight difference in it, no problem. It's just out of twos, I don't
Yep, I totally hear where you're coming from for sure. So yeah, that's my first of two that I'll share. The other one is pretty much the epitome of just a completely out of the blue, random, spontaneous pickup because I saw the card and was just like, that's awesome. I really like that card and the price was right. So I was like, you know what? I don't have any reason to pick this thing up, but it's just too cool to not. So I'm doing it. So yeah, I know Aaron has not seen or heard about this card at all, but it's a set that he is quite familiar with, actually. I know you have, I think, at least three or four cards from this set, actually. Obviously not of this player, but of a different player. But yeah, so a set you're very familiar with, a set that we've talked about on the show before, a product that we've talked about and opened on the show before. So I will just go ahead and throw it up on the screen so you can see it. Then I will let you react and share what exactly you are looking at.
Oh wow, great card. And that's awesome. Good old Aaron Dell too. Great name. That's awesome. For those who are on audio, for those who are on YouTube, you can obviously see this card, but it's the 2022, 23 President's Choice in the Crease jumbo memorabilia card of, like I said, Aaron Dell with an amazing San Jose Sharks patch. This is awesome. Makes me kind of want to watch Jaws. Just a big shark. That's awesome. Just really unique patch. I don't think I've ever, like, that's probably one of the coolest patches I've ever seen. That's awesome. Great looking, angry looking shark. It's too angry. I wonder what he's hungry for. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Probably pucks, I think.
yep, something, puck sticks, whatever it might be.
Yeah,
But
whatever. That's awesome.
yeah,
Great card. Yeah, like I could totally see with like, if I saw that, I'd be like, yeah, like depending on the price point, like, yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, an incredible patch. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find a nicer patch than that. Just a super, super cool card. Obviously, Aaron Dow is not the biggest name in the world. I mean, he's had a fine career and has had some high points and stuff. But on the flip side, being Aaron Dell also kept it affordable. Whereas if it was a notable player, then I just would have been like, oh, that's cool, whatever, and not really thought much of it. But being a lesser, so to speak, player, definitely factored into the price there for sure. So that was nice. And yeah, I mean, you see a patch like that and it's just like, dang, like that is really, really cool. So couldn't pass it up. And yeah, really, really happy that I did pick it up and just an incredibly cool card. If there is an Arendelle collector out there, I'm not aware of any. I don't know if you know of any, Aaron, but if there is somebody out there that collects him and you want this, please let me know and I'd be happy to work a deal with you on it. It's kind of one of those where it's like, if I keep it forever, cool. Like I'm perfectly content holding on to it and enjoying it. But if there's someone whose collection it would legitimately fit a lot better in, then that's great. And I'd be happy to send it where it needs to go. So, but yeah, definitely an incredibly cool card. And yeah, one of those patches that really just makes you say, wow.
100% agree. I mean, just amazing. I mean, I think Aaron Dell had some decent years, but yeah, like you said, not being a notable name, so to speak, just kind of keeping costs down a little bit. And yeah, what a great card for the collection. I know that you have quite a few goalie cards in your own collection, so I think this fits right in, with the rest of them, I guess. So really cool, especially with your, in the crease rake. So really, really awesome job.
Thank you. Much appreciated. So that will wrap it up for the male part of the episode, and we will turn things over to Aaron for the main part of the episode. Obviously, for those who are not familiar, the Fall Expo just happened recently, and as is the norm, Aaron hit up the show for a couple of days. So, as we usually do after one of us goes to a big show, we always like kind of debriefing and sharing about our experience and pickups and everything. So, Aaron, I will turn the floor over to you and you can tell us all about your time at the 2023 Fall Expo.
Sure, absolutely. So kind of a shorter recap than maybe some other people, but either way, it was a great show at the International Center for those who have been before. Definitely, if you haven't, I definitely recommend joining me one of these days and attending a show. Eric, I'm not naming names, but you might be one of them. You need to, come on up to Canada one day and check it out. It is amazing. For those who don't know about the expo or haven't been before, it is the greatest. Like if you like hockey cards, just come on up. It's amazing. The I can't describe how much cards are there. Just the variety you get is just stunning. Like hockey cards of all different eras and just amazing. And if you're into other types of cards as well, especially at this show, this has probably been the first show I've seen with the not the same amount, obviously, but a good amount of non-sport as well. A lot of Pokemon and, Magic cards and things like that. And of course, other major sports as well. So definitely a really good mix compared to other years. Like really, really impressed by that. So if you're interested in hockey cards, of course, but other stuff, man, it is, like I'm just a hockey guy, but I'm sure if I was into other sports or other types of cards, it would make the expo that much more amazing because the variety there was, like I said, compared to recent years, just a step up, which was fantastic. So, yeah, I went for the 2 days. Couldn't make it out the Friday, unfortunately, but I was at a Leaf game, so I guess that kind of made up for it. But yeah, the 2 days there, I spent the majority of my time with my buddy Andy, who I met up with at the show. and spent the time walking around with him the majority of the days. And just we're both goalies. We have a lot in common. Both goalies, both collect some not as notable names in our collection. So we're both kind of, on the lookout for, each other's stuff, and just overall just had a great time kind of walking the floor. He's a big Calvin Picard collector. So, I had to make sure to kind of keep an eye out for him, and he did as well. If anyone interested in following him, he can be found at Pix_collector on Instagram, to see more of his collection. And yeah, just a really all around great dude. And had a pleasure, meeting him and some of his friends at the show. And yeah, just walking the floor and seeing what's out there. He has a really great eye for cards, and he was buying some for the store that he works at, along with cards for his own collection. So, just seeing him wheel and deal and make some really cool pickups for both his reasons were awesome. And yeah, it was a pleasure hanging out with him. As far as like my impressions on the show, I think back to what I said earlier about the variety at the show, I don't know what it was, but maybe that's the reason why there was just so many collectors there. I think it was probably, like, I would say, the most busiest expo I've ever been to. And it really kind of makes you think about, the hobby and just the overall health of it. And I would say after this weekend, just it's like it's so strong. I know like all hobbies, have ebbs and flow to them. And I think we will eventually see that again, no doubt. But for right now, it is very, very healthy, and just so many collectors of all ages just enjoying the show, and that's really great to see. And yeah, it was really, really fun to see that. So, for those out there who maybe have a smaller collector network, like we all sometimes feel that we do, have no fear. The health of the hobby is really notable at the expo. So had a lot of fun seeing that. The prices were high, like you would see at a lot of other shows, but I think it would be more reasonable show pricing than opposed to the last 2 years. I think the pandemic boom sort of happened, and I think a lot of people were really out to lunch on their pricing, but that has seemed to stabilize, not with everybody. You can kind of tell which dealers bought when they did, because they kind of have pricing of a year or two ago. And so some, avenues of the hobby might have softened on some players and on some sets. And for the most part, I think the dealers were okay with that, and they were willing to really work with you on some cards that you wanted. Saw a lot of, cash flying out of people's pockets. The amount of money you see thrown at these shows are really awesome. I mean, it's really cool to see, a deal go down for like a couple grand, like right beside you. It's really something to see. But yeah, I think for pricing, I think it was fair. Like definitely a little high for some things, but considering you're at, arguably, the biggest show out there, I mean, I think overall the pricing was quite reasonable. As far as the layout of it goes, similar to last time, it was split into, well, like it all was at hall number 5, but then sort of went through a hallway section, which there was dealers all set up there as well, and then into another sort of smaller hall where they had, the grading area in its own separate section, along with the autograph signing along the far wall there. So I like that setup. I find like, if you're kind of sick of the main hall, you can kind of, you know, get more room and go off in the hall and kind of check out those booths there. I think they don't get a lot of love as they should, because people are kind of passing by, try to go to the autograph section or grading section, and I think they might get passed by. But they've always been, really cool as far as finding some nice deals or finding some unique cards there. So shout out to those guys in the hallway. It was really cool. But overall, I really, like the setup again. I know some people weren't a fan, but I really enjoy it, having kind of two sections to kind of, if you need a breather or something, you can go wander around in the other hall and then back to the main hall when you're ready. So I didn't really mind the layout. If there was anything I'd change, I think maybe the grading area, which had its own giant section. It seemed like maybe they can sort of, like, I don't know how much space they need, but if they had less of a presence next show, as far as getting a few more dealers in there, I would definitely like that. I feel like they took up a little bit more room than they should have. And again, I don't know their operations. Maybe they needed more space, but to me at first glance, it just seemed like a large area to be taken up just by grading. So yeah, like that would be my only complaint. Maybe if there was a way to get a couple more dealers in that section, I think collectors would kind of benefit from that. But then again, grading and the popularity we've seen in the past couple of years, maybe they needed that extra square footage, kind of make room for more people in their submissions. So who knows? But that was kind of my first impressions and what I would change. But yeah, just a really pleasant experience. I'm going to stop myself right there and kind of get into the card portion, because overall, I mean, I think that's what people are waiting to see. So overall, great show. I would definitely recommend it if you have not been. And let's get to some cards. Like I said, it wasn't a crazy busy show for me, but overall, I think I did quite well for what I was able to pick up. Maybe not, as hard hitting as some other collectors, but for me, it was nice. First pickup I found at the show was this Carey Price 1415 Obushi Platinum Superstars card. Really cool die cut card there. I don't know how rare these are. I don't think they're very rare, but just kind of spoke to me. And Carey Price was also doing signings on the first day that I went, so saw him for like 2 seconds. Another top notch autograph, lineup. I I think after last year's I said on the podcast, like I don't think they could beat that. Like their lineup last time was stacked. And I think I don't know if they beat it, but they came probably quite close, with the amount of awesome signers. They had like Mike Tyson there as well. Carey Price, I think, was one of the big, showstoppers there. So really cool to see him there. I'm sure fans love that. I'm not really a line up in the autograph line kind of guy, but maybe one day. But, for those who do, awesome stuff, to see one of your favorite goalies there. So there was a lot of Price stuff at the show. And so I'm like, you know what? Like I'm a sucker from a good Carey Price card. Why not? I collect some of his cards. So that was always, really cool to see there. So I figured I'd join the Price train and grab one of his cards. The next card I picked up on day one was probably the highlight of the show. One of my favorite goalies of all time, Ed Belfour. I have a small but kind of nice collection of his, I'd say, and I picked up this next one at Jeremy Lee's booth. I know he shares it with someone. His name escapes me right now, but picked this up from his selection of cards. He's a Belfour collector also, so he gave me a very fair price on this one. It is from 1213 SP Authentic, the limited auto patch of, you guessed it, Ed Belfour. So this is pictured him as a Florida Panther. And so, I mean, he only spent a very short time of his career there, but I don't have an auto patch of him yet on the Panthers. I've always wanted to pick one up, but I figured I'd get around to it. And so I saw this card. I've always loved the limited auto patch cards, and this one being out of 25, can't go wrong. So nice clean autograph there, with those dark Florida Panthers jerseys. Really love those. And a nice sort of, I believe that would be a number patch, a nice white patch with a red, stitching right there. I don't mind white patch cards. I know this has a good chunk of red, but I never really minded white patch cards. I think it's really cool to get, a part of the emblem or a part of a number or something. So, to have that in my collection, I do not mind one bit. Numbered 7 of 25. So really cool piece there. The next pickup was another Ed Belfour card. I guess I got kind of Belfour fever. I believe I did the last show as well. Maybe the Belfour collection is, kicking up as I age. I turned 30 earlier this year. So maybe, the nostalgia's kicking in and I'm like, man, I want to collect, a childhood goalie. I've been a fan of his for years, but maybe that's kind of, leaking into my collection habits a little bit. So this is from, I always wanted to pick up a card from this set. This is from, let's see if I can get the year here. Not sure what year this is, but it's from Dominion. I want to say like 2012 or 2013 or something.
10-11,
but
I think.
10-11. I wanted to say 2011, but I guess I should have went with my gut there. But 2011. This is from the Dominion 2011 set, and it is the patch card. I love the black and white tones on this card, but this is the patch card number 10 of 25 of, like I said, Ed Belfour. Hard to see on camera, but it's a nice 3-color from the nice kind of Texas shaped shoulder patch that they had. So really, really cool card. Always love this set and the amount of parallels they had. always wanted a card from this set, and I just figured, hey, Belfour's right there. I got it for a really, really good price, and I'm like, yeah, I'll take that all day. I had a 0607 Marty Turco limited logos patch once, and a really nice Dallas Stars patch, and I traded it away to a Turco collector years ago. And so every time I see a nice Dallas Stars patch, I kind of regret selling that one. And so I saw a nice Dallas patch, of Ed Belfour, and I'm like, yeah, I think that'll patch isn't as nice, but you know what? I think that's a really good, redeemable card right there. Yeah, really cool how they did the retired stars there, the black and white on the card, blue foil there too. So really awesome looking card. Big fan. And the next two pickups were, it's the same card. I always try to find, an Enroth card at the show. Wasn't able to this time myself, but luckily my friend Andy was able to have a dealer throw these in, which was quite funny. And he just free of charge. I mean, I can't imagine charging me for them, but he threw in two Enroth Young Guns there, so that is we'll gladly add those to the collection. So yeah, that's we're counting down here, folks, and I know it's been kind of like a snooze fest so far, but some Belfour, some old guys, and then we got Enroth there, so maybe I'll keep it young again with these next couple cards. Not doing myself any favors, but kind of like the nostalgia's hitting hard with these cards, really. I mean, I don't know what happened to me at the expo, but I picked this up for a couple of dollars, right near the end of the show on Sunday. These next two cards, but good old Steve Mason Future Watch autograph. Love that. I think I had an old Steve Mason card. I think I still have that, but it was his sign of the times from that year because future watches were just way too expensive. So I'm like, you know what? I think, 10 years ago, me would love this card. So I just figured, you know what? Got it in almost as a throw in with the next card I'm about to show you. And I'm like, yeah, why not? Great, nice autograph there. Good old OHL helmet that he's wearing. Always loved that he debuted like that. Like good old Steve Mason. I remember we did the Hobby Busts episode, which was so fun. And Steve Mason made the list. I mean, hopefully he's doing well, but yeah, like definitely a hobby bust as far as, the high that he was at coming into the league after his rookie season and then just totally just falling off a cliff. Decent goalie, I think, like he kind of redeemed himself there at the end a little bit, but yeah, hobby value was never the same. But always love this set here. So yeah, good old Steve Mason Future Watch autograph. And the final pickup from the show, more nostalgia, guys. Like I know I said I'd keep it younger, but I just did. More older guys here. Final pickup of the show. Picked this up with Steve Mason. It is from 0708 SP Game Used Inked Sweaters out of 25 of Jean-Sebastien Giguère. As you are going to see on the scan, the autograph is basically non-existent. This person must have kept it close to the sun, which I don't know why you would do that for Jiggy, but they did. Maybe they weren't a fan of him, and so they decided to burn this card or throw it into the sun. I'm not sure. But the patch on that thing, old school Mighty Ducks, I'm a fan. Really cool card. The guy basically gave it to me for free since, the autograph's gone. And I'm like, I'll take the Mason as well. I just a couple bucks, take them both. Why not? And I'm like, that is awesome. So I might just peel off the sticker myself. Pretty cool card. So yeah, just that kind of does it for me and my expo pickups. I know it's not as flashy as the McDavids of the world and the Austin Matthews. So many leaf cards there. So awesome to see. But yeah, those are my pickups. Speaking of Leafs, actually, I also picked up a from the Real Sports booth there. For those who don't know, Real Sports is the official game used, game issued kind of jersey supplier for the Leafs. And so they set up a nice, cool locker room looking setup at the show every year. And place is always crowded. And they always have really cool stuff for sale, gloves, sticks, jerseys, of course, all the equipment you could ask for, team apparel, everything, all game used, issued, whatever. Amazing. So I also picked up a 2022 Heritage Classic Toronto Arenas jersey in a 58G. For those who don't know, the 58G represents the goalie cut. And so these were, sort of locker room prepped jerseys. Really cool with the kind of shoulder patch on the side. The only one to feature a shoulder patch, which is really interesting. So I was told by Eric and someone else that, that might be a locker room issue. I don't know the difference between a game issue and a locker room issue, but really cool regardless. So, yeah, really cool jersey there. I'm always a fan of, hockey history and just old things in general. So to find, a Toronto Arenas jersey based off the original 1917 team, with a kind of a modern twist is always really cool. So big fan of that jersey. Yeah. And I really love that. So that kind of rounded out my expo. And overall, I think it was a success. So sorry if it was too long-winded, but that was my expo experience.
No, definitely not too long-winded considering that the national recap episode was over 2 hours long.
That is
So
true. There was a lot to unpack there.
true. But yeah, it was fun hearing about your pickups. Some of those I did know about, some I did not. Obviously, the Maple Leafs Toronto Arenas jersey is kind of the show-stopping piece there for you. I mean, finding game issued stuff like that, especially for a special event game like that, is basically impossible. So the fact that you were able to find one, in a goalie cut too, goalie cut jerseys are even harder to find than player jerseys are. So, tying all those things in together, and then the fact that it did have the patch applied to the jersey, is kind of the next level up, because I know you were saying that there were jerseys that were, team issued for that game that did not have the patch. So the fact that
Right.
yours,
It was the only one with the shoulder patch. And I was really like, I didn't catch it at first either because these jerseys have not a lot of branding to them, not a lot of like pinstripes on the arms or anything like that, like kind of a bare looking like arm. And so they all kind of blended in like almost like a practice jersey. And so I kind of, noticed they were all plain and that's fine. But I noticed the one that I saw was the only one with that Heritage Classic patch on the side. So really strange. I don't know if that was missed or what have you, but yeah, it was the only one that had a patch on it and just happened to be, a 58 goalie cut, which well, I guess it would depend on the player, but I believe in the NHL, the 58 and the 60G is kind of the only sizes they really use due to, the regulations and the sizing and all that stuff of the goalie. So yeah, really cool. I actually like I know I shouldn't do this, but I did wear the jersey. I know. If it was game use, I wouldn't do it, but issued or locker room prepared or whatever you want to call it. I did wear it. I packed it in my bag and accidentally forgot my beer league jersey because I was going to show someone there. And it turns out I'm just like, you know what? I forgot my jersey. I'm going to wear this one. And one of my teammates who's really into game worn collecting, I just hung up the jersey sort of out of the way on the side and came back in the dressing room and he said, "Don't think you can hide that sweet, sweet Toronto Arenas Heritage Classic jersey from me. That made in Canada, awesome quality jersey." So he was really he loved the jersey. I think more than I did. Like he was going nuts like over this thing, and he loved that I wore it out there for our team, and we actually won 3-1. So I don't think I'm going to wear the jersey again, but really cool way to kind of debut that jersey. Finally, like a Leafs player almost wore it, and then I took it home, wore it in a beer league game, actually playing at the Toronto Maple Leafs practice facility as well a few nights ago. So kind of full circle a little bit. So yeah, really cool jersey.
yeah, it was really cool to hear about that when you told me about it after you picked it up. So yeah, that's obviously just an awesome piece to have. And then as far as the cards, I mean, obviously the Belfour auto patch is awesome, and I know that's something that you've wanted for your collection for a long time. So to cross that off and add it to the collection is really cool. But I love that Dominion patch. I mean, I loved the base set design and the parallel design of all of those cards in 1011 Dominion. Just thought those cards always looked really, really nice. And it seemed like they used really good memorability pieces on a lot of the parallel cards. So, obviously a really nice shoulder patch there, being no different. So yeah, that's probably my favorite card that you picked up. Just a really cool and nostalgic set, the first year of Dominion, great design, nice patch, great player. So yeah, that's an awesome pickup. And I like the Steve Mason Future Watch as well. Again, kind of just a fun throwback type of card, that back in the day that was a big deal type of card. And unfortunately nowadays not so much. So sometimes it's kind of fun to pick those up and reminisce about what used to be in the hobby. But yeah, definitely a nice assortment of cards there, even if there was nothing, massive and you didn't pick up a ton of stuff, still a really nice variety of stuff there. And glad that you had a good time.
I sure did. And yeah, it's going to be awesome in the springtime when the next expo rolls around. No doubt there's going to be a lot of Bedard fever, and that is going to be something to see. I mean, I said earlier how I think this is, and I brought it up with a couple people at the show, how this might have been the busiest expo I've ever seen. Maybe it was the Mike Tyson effect or something, but which definitely has a lot of pull. But yeah, just it was so busy and just really something to see, except for the parking. The parking getting in was horrible. But other than that, so I mean, knowing that and seeing how well the Fall Expo was received by everybody, you add in that plus Bedard, I don't know what I'm in for. It's gonna be amazing. I can't wait. So that's gonna be probably a record breaking event. So I cannot wait for that. So come back and next year, if you don't listen to any other podcast until then, definitely check out that one in 2024, and it's going to be really something.
Yeah, good call. I'm sure it'll be a total zoo, and I'm sure you'll see hundreds of his young guns at the show, and I'm sure there'll be other stuff out at that point too. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that goes. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the parking because I know I've seen online a lot of other people kind of complaining about that as well. It sounds like there was another convention going on in some of the other halls, so that was kind of contributing to that. But yeah, I know people were not pleased with the parking situation for the show, unfortunately. So kind of a little downside there. But yeah, overall, everything that I've heard has been largely positive, and people enjoyed their time and really good turnout and a lot of good cards and fair prices, like you were saying, which is really good to see because there are definitely times, even still today, but even over the last few years, when people just are pie in the sky, pricing with their cards at shows. So the fact that stuff was reasonable for being at a show is really encouraging to hear. And I've spoken with a few people that even had their own booths set up and everything, and they felt that they did really well too, and were surprised by how well they did. And those are people that have been set up for a while at the expo, so for them to almost be surprised at how well they did is obviously very encouraging as well. So yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that it was a good kind of a good snapshot of how healthy the hobby is. And that's obviously extremely encouraging as we're kind of maybe a little bit on the back end of the pandemic boom, and stuff is still higher than it was pre-pandemic. But I think it's still good to see that even though things are quieting down, that there is still a very strong hobby landscape right now. So obviously I wasn't there, so I can't speak to the show a whole lot. But yeah, I'm glad that you were able to go for a couple days and that you had a really good time. So that'll do it for the expo segment of the show. Obviously, that's the main part. But one thing that we wanted to touch on real quick before wrapping up is some pretty big hobby news. Just came out a few days ago, depending on when we end up publishing this. But it was just announced the other day that Leaf trading cards was sold. And a lot of people were kind of curious, when Brian Gray stepped away, what that really meant for the future of Leaf. And even at the time he was saying, well, like there will be some news down the road, but I can't say anything right now. So people were kind of wondering what that was going to be. And then, they got their new CEO and everything. And yeah, then this news comes out about Leaf being sold. And I'm just going to straight up read the press release that Leaf sent out because obviously they will do a better job explaining it than I could do. So here it goes. It just reads Leaf trading cards under new ownership. Orange Mountain Capital acquires leading sports trading card manufacturer. So that's the headline of the release. And the body says Leaf Trading Cards, a prominent name in the sports trading card and collectibles industry, is proud to announce its acquisition by Orange Mountain Capital, a dynamic player entering the sports and pop culture space. The deal marks a significant chapter in the long and storied history of Leaf, with Orange Mountain Capital expressing enthusiasm for the brand's legacy and its commitment to further enhancing its prominence in the market. The acquisition was spearheaded by Douglas Maxwell, representing Orange Mountain Capital, who expressed excitement about the strategic move into the sports and pop culture sector. We are thrilled to be venturing into the sports and pop culture space, a realm we've had our sights on for quite some time. Leaf's rich history in the trading card industry is a testament to its standing, and we are eager to contribute to the continued success and evolution of this iconic brand, remarked Maxwell. I'd like to personally thank Brian Gray for his time and effort in assisting this transaction. We couldn't be more excited to move forward with this new ownership group, stated Kevin O'Neill, the new Leaf CEO. In response to the acquisition, Brian Gray, the outgoing owner of Leaf Trading Cards, offered his thoughts on this transformative development. The purchase of Leaf by a group focused on expanding and refining the incredible company we have built is exciting for both the Leaf team and the hobby as a whole. While I am sad to end an era of Leaf ownership, it is exciting to see Leaf take the next steps in its growth process. The acquisition by Orange Mountain Capital represents a strategic move aimed for new heights in the sports trading card hobby. So that is the release that Leaf sent out the other day, announcing the news. I think a lot of people were kind of, I don't know if surprised is the right word, but at least I know, I'd never heard of Orange Mountain Capital before, and I don't think many, if any, people had either. So that was kind of just interesting. I think a lot of people were speculating back when Brian first stepped away from Leaf that, is Fanatics gonna, take a run at it, or some other, kind of more well-known entity, gonna take it over. So, there was a lot of speculation about that, and then it kind of quieted down, and then, boom, seemingly out of nowhere, this news comes out. So it'll be interesting to see, obviously, whenever a company like Leaf or, any card company changes hands. Obviously, there are some changes that are going to take place at some point. We've seen that with Topps after they were bought by Fanatics. It's part of the process. I mean, a new ownership group is going to want to do things a little bit differently and, implement some of their own, ideas and procedures and things like that. So I'm sure we'll see some change with Leaf at some point. It won't be right away, I'm sure. It took time for some of those changes to be made and implemented with Topps through Fanatics. So I'm sure it'll be no different here with Leaf. But, my initial thoughts are, I don't see, and I hope this is the case, I don't see a whole lot necessarily changing, at least in terms of Leafs hockey offerings. Just knowing how heavily invested they are into hockey, primarily with the memorabilia that they have, and a lot of that nicer, vintage stuff that they're known for, they did get through the in the game acquisition, through Dr. Price. But even in the years since then, they have really put in a lot of money into just building up their own memorabilia collection. And, that's something they're always doing and, constantly buying new jerseys and equipment and, whatever it might be. So obviously Leaf is very invested into hockey in particular. I mean, they do have, those multi-sport releases and stuff. And, that's kind of something I would be intrigued to see, where that ends up going, because, it seems like they don't necessarily have enough stuff of any particular sport to just really do their own memorabilia based product for a baseball, a basketball, a football, a soccer, whatever it might be. So that's kind of why you see the multi-sport releases, whereas they obviously do have enough hockey stuff to lean into hockey and have a lot of different hockey releases every year. So I don't really foresee that changing, and I hope that's the case. Like I said, I love what Leaf does and think that the value they provide is excellent, and the quality of cards is great. And yeah, I mean, who doesn't love opening a box of cards and pulling multiple memorabilia cards of Hall of Fame players and getting autographs of, legends and Hall of Famers and stuff regularly? I mean, it's just not something that you see, with Upper Deck, unfortunately. I mean, there's a lot of good reasons for that, and there's a lot of good reasons why Leaf does things the way they do. Really can't compare the two to each other. It really is apples to oranges. But, for me, as someone who really appreciates the history of the game and, wants to, feel like I'm really getting good value out of what I'm buying, to me, I'm gonna probably choose those products that are heavy with Hall of Famers and, their memorabilia and autographs, just because, who doesn't love opening a box and, pulling a Gordie Howe memorabilia card, or, Jean Beliveau, or, whoever it might be. That's stuff that you see frequently with Leaf. And, that's why people really enjoy their products. So, but yeah, don't want to harp on the news too much because I know, myself included, I think a lot of people just don't really know a whole lot about the company that bought them. So it'll kind of be a wait and see type of thing. One thing I did want to throw in real quick too, I know that some people have been, asking questions online, what does this mean? What are the implications? Are things completely changing? What's going on? Greg Cohn, who we've had on the show multiple times, who is the VP of product development for Leaf, he responded to a question on a Leaf Facebook group. And he just said, "Hey guys, Leaf trading cards will not be going away. The new ownership group will leave us to continue offering value driven quality products. We already have a few products coming soon with lower price points and the same strong content. Stay tuned." So again, to me, that's a really encouraging sign of what'll be coming in the future through Leaf. And yeah, I think that's pretty much the majority of my thoughts there. I don't know if you want to throw anything in yourself, Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, overall, like I'm with you. I don't know who these guys are, this acquisition group, but hopefully they do good things and are happy with with Leaf. I'm sure, the Leaf team is happy to do that. And yeah, I'm sure they'll be like Orange County will be excited to have Leaf in their investment portfolio, I guess. I don't think anything will change in the short term. I think just having a company kind of do what they do under, them and seeing what kind of transpires will be kind of the next steps. The team at large, I will probably stay the same, I assume, at Leaf, for the most part. And I think for them, it's just kind of business as usual, just kind of, building the cool sets and kind of doing what they've always done since day one there. So as far as like the products are concerned, again, short term, I don't think there'll be any change. Long term, who knows? It could be hopefully, it's one where they get more resources and things like that to sort of strengthen their position in the market. It could also go the other way where it's acquired and sort of if they don't have the right leadership involved, it could be sort of left hanging out to dry a little bit. I don't think that would happen, at least too soon. So overall, I think it's positive for Leaf. We'll have to see how things shake up, but overall, being acquired by someone, I think, especially if they're dedicated to the sports card market or they want to get more involved in that, I think Leaf is a very unique way to do that. And by no means saying it's bad, but I mean, I think in the especially hockey card area, there's not really much competition out there. So I mean, if you can acquire Leaf, who already do like I think at what they do, they're the best at what they do as far as their place in the market. I think it'll only go up from here. So overall, we'll have to wait and see, but overall, I think it's a good thing for Leaf. And as far as collectors go in the short term, I think they'll be offered the same, great products that Leaf already offer right now. So I think, it's a win-win right now. So surprised at not really at the timing, because when Brian left, you kind of knew something was up, but definitely surprised at who acquired them just because I don't know of them at all. So that could be a good thing. That could be a bad thing. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But overall, right now, I think it'll be a good thing.
Yeah, very fair assessment there for sure. I think you summarized a lot of what I said very concisely. So well done on that. I don't think there's anything else I have to add, whether it be about Leaf or the Expo. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
I do. I actually missed one of my pickups. I also picked up a Jonas Enroth signed Toronto Maple Leafs puck as
That's
well.
right.
Just was kind of browsing some tables, and there was a lot of pucks available, but saw this one table and just saw it sitting there. So I'm like, yeah, I'll take that for a few bucks. Why not? So really cool acquisition. I've always wanted a signed puck from Enroth, but I kind of wanted to get like an official game puck. So that is what I picked up. Wasn't from the right year, but that's okay. Beggars can't be choosers. So got an official game puck signed by Enroth. So nice gold ink as well. So his time with the Leafs was not very long, but to get an autograph out of it, it's kind of cool. So just thought I'd throw that in there last minute.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. So glad you remembered. Yeah, that was definitely cool. And yeah, I mean, it's if he's there for such a short time, it can be kind of hard to find a time period correct type of thing. And especially being a backup goalie, he probably wasn't signing a whole lot of stuff, at least comparatively to what Freddie was signing, I'm sure. So
Probably not.
yeah, definitely a really cool pickup, especially if you're able to get it for a few bucks. So really cool there. And always cool that you continue to find unique things for your Enroth collection. I know that's something that a lot of people in the hobby appreciate about your collection is, there's no bounds for what, kind of interesting, new, unique, different type of things that you find and add.
I think that's a good way of summarizing it. I think, especially in the hobby now, a lot of people collect, the next big thing or investment pieces and things like that. And this collection is sort of, the opposite of all that. And, to continue to pick up, whether it's rare cards all these years later, which is always really fun, or random items like that. I think it's really cool how long this collection has been going. So since 2010. So it's going to end one of these days, but I guess it never really ends if you're having fun. So yeah, like always fun to do that at the expo as well. Keep the collection going a little bit more.
No doubt. Cool. Well, I think that'll pretty much do it for the episode. We'll leave it at that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed hearing about Aaron's time at the expo. I know I always enjoy hearing about it, especially because it's kind of me living vicariously through Aaron at these shows since I never end up going. One of these years I will make it up there. It's definitely right up there on my bucket list of hobby things to do. So one of these years I will make the trip. But yeah, in the meantime, it's fun hearing about your experiences at every show. So yeah, but I think that'll pretty much wrap it up for the episode. So as always, please be sure to follow us on social media. We can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Sunrise Cardcast, and on Twitter at Sunrise CC. Please also be sure to subscribe to the show on your podcast platform of choice to make sure you never miss a future episode. Until next time on Sunrise Cardcast, keep collecting those hockey cards.